with a result like that and the way that Sarri reacted, not shaking hands, does that divide the space between his players and him now? They've got no respect for him. Prior to this, the comments that he's made to the media, and now this, not even showing a good example to his...
I think what he said previously a couple of weeks ago, that he's failing to motivate his players. I mean, you don't come out and say that. As a manager, you have to set the tone. Even if you're wrong and you feel like you're not getting your message across, you just make up an excuse. You just, lie and say, yeah, everything is great. And that just gives the players an excuse to perform like that today, where the manager doesn't believe in you, he questions your motivation. Yeah. And it's...
Yeah. Mourinho all over again.
Yeah, it's quite a few managers you could name.
and again, recently, Eden Hazard has said that he's decided where his future lies. Yeah. And I think looking at what's going on at Chelsea at the moment, I can't imagine he wants his future to be at Chelsea Football Club either.
Yeah, but has he performed enough to demand anything to go away? The Huddersfield game obviously was absolutely brilliant, but the games... A few of the games recently where he's gone missing, he's your star player. In games like today, you need him to step up and perform. And he fell short again in the last couple of times. And, more so today than any other time where you need your star players to perform. And quite frankly, none of them did. It's all good blaming Sarri and saying he set the team up wrong. But ultimately, you've been the player, I've been the player. It's very easy to pass the blame on. But ultimately, when you go down at 4-0 at halftime, you go in the changing room, you've got to have a bit of personal pride. You need to pick a fight with your teammate, get the best of you, a bit of aggression, and then you trying to improve the second half. I think second half was even worse than first half.
Yeah.
Didn't get after Man City at all. That's just set the tone for first 20 minutes. Just, you got the supporters driving with you, get after Man City, a few tackles, and just get back into the game. And I think they were even more worse. It's just set back more, and Man City had more. I mean, they kicked off from the 6-0, 3 passes, and then City had the ball again. Yeah. You mentioned it to me. It's like,
Chelsea were overall extremely poor today, and that's taking nothing away from Man City, who were terrific. They really were. I don't know. From my perspective, I think that Chelsea just need to go to ground now, because the only way they're going to weather this storm is to keep quiet, get together, and start turning in some performances and picking up some good results. Yeah. And they've got the Europa League midweek, gives them at least an opportunity. But whether we're going to have a press conference from Sarri or not, I don't know, because that should be fascinating. Yeah.
But you're saying the players should take the blame, and it's been 3 consecutive managers that there seems to be this rift between managers and players. So, it's hard not to sort of point the fingers now at the players. Like, are they just going to keep doing this with every manager moving forward?
There's been rumours about the player power anywhere at Chelsea, haven't there, in recent years? Whenever it was going sort of downhill, manager out, new manager in. They had a bit of success with Conte, had one good year, then a bad season again, and he's gone, now Sarri's come in. So ultimately the players need to perform. I know the manager is there to sort of guide them in the right directions, but they have to have a good hard look at themselves, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah. Players are all powerful these days. They do hold the power. Certainly when I played, the guy who held the power was the head coach, the manager. He really was, and it's very different today. But yes, there is a pattern there at Chelsea Football Club, as you just mentioned, with recent managers. And I'm just also thinking it happens at other clubs, maybe even at Leicester City to some extent, with Claudio Ranieri after they'd won the league the next season. Yep. There seemed to be a division appeared there.
Well, it's always easier just to get, to sack the manager, get someone else, and, having to sack 25 players. Yeah. But I do agree with you that players have got a lot more strength and power and say in what goes on with a manager or assistants. It's a difficult one because ultimately the players have to perform, and if the group feels like the manager's not giving him what the group needs, then you've got a bit of a question to answer, and I think that's the case. I think the group knows they probably need a different style of coaching, different style of managing, and obviously Sarri has the complete opposite sort of opinion on how they should do it. It's like that at the moment, and like you said, there's only one winner when that happens.
My takeaway from that, rather post-match interview, I don't know what the problem is. they are the better team. I don't know why we're bad away. What did you guys take away from that?
I think the truth is that when you find yourself in that position as a head coach, having just been beaten quite heavily, you're very guarded. You have to be careful what you say because you don't want to inflame the situation. I think it's great that he came out and spoke to the media. You know, we could very easily have sent Zola out, and you know, coaches do that. They'll send their assistant out occasionally. I don't think it's particularly liked, but no, I think he was guarded, and rightly so. I thought he was pretty honest as well. Is he going to tell the world what the problem is, if he knows what the problem is? Is he going to tell the world how it's going to be solved? I don't think so. You know, that's stuff that you do with your staff in the office on the training park.
Yeah, more when he got asked about has he got the players to press, and he went, no, I don't think so. Then why set your players up to press, which he did today. He said, you know, they wanted to press from the front, they got to play it through. That's the only thing. Yeah, and isn't that his job to know why they lost? I know what you're saying.
Yeah, that was what I was going at. He should know.
I know you say it's a bit guarded and he shouldn't give a whole sort of explanation why he lost, but his job is to know. And the whole pressing thing is confusing. He wants to press. He knows they're not as good as pressing as he thinks they are, and yet he presses against a team which, if you don't do it right, you know, you get completely outdone.
You're in big trouble against Man City. Yeah,
lots of confusing messages.
Yeah, and also what I do want to mention here is the fact that I think he's doing extremely well with his English, you know. So in the translation, the understanding, etc. You know, I've spent a couple of years working as a head coach in Thailand. You know, my Thai is very limited, to say the least. So you work with a translator. You need the translator to say exactly what you are saying. And actually, from one language to another language, sometimes there isn't a one word for one word, for example. I know you've had to deal with it yourself, with, you know, German and speaking English, and you've done it brilliantly. I understand that, but it can be awkward.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's doing fine, and he gets the language quite well. But I don't think that's the problem there. I think the setup was, you know, he understood the question, he just didn't know why they lost. And he maybe couldn't quite get across in English, but that's what he got a translator for.
I feel like we were left with more question marks after the post-match interview than before.
But what does it take then to implement Sarri ball? If he says, you know, he doesn't have the players to play his style, does he need to bring in his own players? How much does he need to spend?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's what you'd be looking at. I think he'd be looking, get to find out a way, I mean, hopefully win a title to calm the supporters down a little bit, get to the summer, sit down with the board and go, this is what I need to spend, this is the players I need, these are the players I need to get rid of to play the way I want to do, or they go completely separate ways. But I think he'd be thinking, get myself to summer in a reasonable position and then negotiate what we're going to do with ins and outs.
Or another option is possibly, you know, he modifies his Sarri ball. A little bit like, I think Guardiola did it with Man City, as you suggested earlier, Robert, that, you know, Pep Guardiola, after season one, felt that he did need to modify and change things a little bit, and he did that, and the second season had the success. So maybe Sarri needs to do that. But as I said earlier, you know, he is quite stubborn, he is quite set in his ways. You know, he's been reasonably successful in Italy with his ways. And, you know, it's not easy to change when that is your belief.